Guys, guys, my BL people, come to the front. Let's come to the front. Let's have a little talk. Let's have a little talk because if you've been missing all that's been happening, I don't know where you've been, but for those like me that have been on the internet 24/7, that are chronically online, we know that things are changing. And honestly, I am here for it. I am here for it and I am loving it. I don't even know where to start with this because this is something that like I feel like you have to have been here from the beginning to understand what is going on. So for those who don't know, there's a new currently airing Chinese BL drama about the Omegaverse. The title of the drama is called ABO Desire. And guys, if you are new, the odds of this existing is actually like zero. Like I mean it's less than zero. It's on a negative, right? Because first, the odds of there being an Omegaverse drama in the first place is like 10%. And I say that because like we already have like Pit Babe, which is a Thai BL drama that uses a lot of this like terms. Like it's supposed to be set in the Omegaverse. But a lot of it is just them using the powers and, you know, calling people Omegas, calling people Alphas, but they don't really like use the Omegaverse to its full extent, right? So I want to say it's like 10%. Now, within that, the chance of it being a Chinese Omega BL drama, that is zero. That is 0%. And I don't know how explain this than to just say censorship, right? Censorship. Because even the odds of there being just a Chinese BL drama is very, very slim. In fact, the odds of there being even a Chinese bromance is already very, very slim. And so this is something we had no expectation about because we all had an idea about the censorship in China. This is something we had no radar, like it's not on anybody's radar that this was like a thing. I mean, it was to an extent because, but we all just felt like it's not gonna happen, right? And so you guys have to understand that this is a blessing. In 2025, this is a blessing. In fact, I have to say 2025 has been a blessing so far. And guys, you don't understand how big of a deal this is. Because like the fact that they've managed to circumvent censorship, and not just ABO Desire, right? But like other Chinese BL dramas are airing currently, like Revenge Love. The fact that they've managed to circumvent censorship, I think is first of all amazing. And if you're curious about how they are doing this, first of all, you should understand how censorship affects BL in China. China bans you airing BL dramas in its country. And so you will never see a Chinese BL drama, first of all, on a network. That was obviously never going to happen. But you're also not going to see it in streaming platforms. So iQIYI and the others, Yoku and everything, you will not see it here. Now you might be thinking, but I see some BL dramas on iQIYI and everything. You're looking at the international version of those platforms. The local ones that they have in China, you do not air on those ones, right? And so that is the first thing. The second thing is China also, and this is I think more recent, but it's also just implicit because of this like agenda against BL. It's not an overtly like, you know, huge agenda against BL. Like you can do BL, just like no one has to know, and it better not be popular or else it's going to be shut down, right? So they also kind of ban you from producing it, right? Like that's the idea. They even go as far as to jail BL writers. That's how serious they are about this, right? Especially the ones that are like I think more popular, right? So to get around this, what Chinese production companies have done, and God, I have to like give them props. Like these are fighters. These are actual like OGs. Like these are people that are like putting a lot of effort into this. But what they've done is that, first of all, because you cannot stream to like Chinese audience, they put it on Western streaming platforms. So Viki, Gaga, those kinds of platforms, right? So that's how they get around like airing, right? How, I don't know, the Chinese market will find those dramas, I don't know. They somehow, I think, find a way to get to that And I think they're also able to like put it on like the Western version of the Chinese platforms, right? So the iQIYIs, the Yokus, right? So that's the first thing. And then what they also do is that rather than film in China, they film in places that are like Chinese adjacent looking. So what I mean by that is they film in places like Singapore or Taiwan, right? And that's kind of how they get around that, right? And so I do wonder how it's going to be in the future, because there's this boom now, especially revenge love, that I feel like it's possible for actors to now start getting threats from the government about this, because like I said, some BL writers are being persecuted for this, right? So I won't be shocked if the actors also get swept into this. And I would say that, like I said, China has this policy of like, it's not like they don't know it exists. They know, right? It's just when it becomes almost mainstream, because it goes against their ideology. So that's when they kind of want to shut it down, right? So they are harsh on it, but they are not overtly harsh. Because I mean, just like the Chinese novel scene, the industry is a cesspool. Like that is a cesspool. And to an extent, it might just be because it's harder to control that market than, how dramas have to go through like the actual censorship board and like get approved for, streaming licensing and stuff like that, right? You don't have to do that for novels. So it's circumvented. And so you have a lot of just like text, right? A lot of BL text, right? But anything that is supposed to stream, that's supposed to be on TV, that is censored, right? And so the more it's popular, the more it's going to be censored, right? So like I said, currently there is Revenge Love that's hearing, and for those who don't know, it's based on the novel Counterattack, right? That's the one that's blown up recently. But before that, I will say that there has been other ones that have been really popular. Again, this is just a really popular genre, right? This is a really popular part of like just a cult following on this like thing, right? So before Revenge Love, which is the current thing I would say like big hit that's going on, and it's to the point where it's affecting the actors. Before that, there was The Untamed and Word of Honor. I would say The Untamed was bigger. Right, The Untamed was the real one that, I think is what made Xiaojian and his co-star like just like hit a ungodly level of fame, right? To the point where I think that is still what they are best known for, right? And I would even say Xiaojian is easily one of the most popular idol actor, like, in that age group that there is today in China, right? And I'll say it's all because of it. And The Untamed is like a bromance. I mean, it's based on a BL novel, of course, but it's a bromance, right? And it aired as a bromance, right? I mean, I think it's to the point where like they're not allowed to be in the same room or something like that. Like that's how bad censorship like came hard on this, right? But that actually managed to finish its run. Now, before that, there was Addicted, Heroine. And that I think was the real one that really started this mess. I'm sure there was some before it, but in terms of like my timeline, I'll say Addicted started this whole nonsense, right? In that when that blew up, and I mean that blew up so like badly because like that's when censorship comes down hard. And that's when they actually started to like ban other things like or started to think about banning other things like, you can't be too feminine if you're like a guy in a drama. Like that was a thing at the point, right? And so, yeah, that was the one that also I would say shut up the actor in that to what he is today, right? I'll say it's not as popular as Xiaojian, but nobody really is, right? Xiaojian is kind of an anomaly in that way. But yeah, that was really the first one, Addicted Heroine. And I remember because Addicted was uncensored in terms of that, like, it went really far. He had like uncut, like, episodes because it went in, right? And so like I could see how the Chinese government was like, no, this gotta go, right? Well, yeah, even though yes, it's highly censored, it's all this, it's kind of something that can make your career, right? And it's just a very lucrative business, right? If you can like up on it perfectly as an actor, it's like it will shoot you to like unknown heights, sometimes to your detriment, mostly to your detriment, but you will definitely be popular, right? And I would say that the BL market is one where Thailand has the market share on this, even though I think that they are not necessarily the best at it. And that's not, I would say, to a fault of their own. But one thing I will say is that they are the only ones that consistently put out BL dramas in terms of that, like, they have no censorship. To get married in Thailand is legal, right? And so they've really invested in that market in a way that China obviously cannot do, right? They are still kind of working it out. We'll see how it goes from here. But Korea, even though they don't have censorship, they are just a really conservative country, so you just don't see much of it from them, right? Taiwan as well. Taiwan is a very odd one because ideally they should have more, but they don't, and I don't know why that is, right? But also, like, again, gay marriages are legal in this country, but for some reason production is not meeting up to that, right? And that might just be a lack of investors, willing to like put money into this market where they're not sure if it's gonna like be a boom, right? It's not where they're not sure if it's gonna be successful, right? I feel like there's a market there because like I said, I don't know if this sudden Chinese BL boom is gonna last. I doubt it, right? Japan also does a lot of BL dramas, right? And this is, I would say, one of the few ones where like they air on their networks, right? Like this is something like the network is putting in like money into this, and so they air this properly, right? But they don't also produce as much, right, as Thai. Where Thai, I think this is like the constant flow of this, right? Back to back to back to back, right? That said, even though Thailand has a constant flow, they struggle with writing and low budget, right? And so that's where, even though they have the market, if China decides to actually start doing this and they're able to get away with this in a way that like censorship is not able to like lock them down again, they will blow, I think, Thailand out of the park. They will become immediately, just very quickly, the standard in a way that I think this happened a lot with Korean dramas, where at some point there's a shift in the amount of people that watch Korean dramas that like just moved to like Chinese dramas. This might also happen because, let's be honest, when it comes to budget, when it comes to volume, just the amount of production you can do, China just is far out of the league of anybody, really. And so regardless, they were always going to be the top, right? That's just a fact because of their size, right? And I will say that their writing does not suffer as badly as I would say the Thai industry does. Like the Thai industry actually needs to work on, they have good actors, but they consistently refuse, right, to like hire good writers, right? And so that's where their struggle is. So I think that if China decides to do this, they're gonna like just corner that market immediately. And honestly, it's because they don't give an F. Right? Like, you guys think about it, like China is just starting this. I mean, they've obviously been around. They are the ones that have kind of revolutionized this world. They brought this whole thing to be what it is. But honestly, they've just somehow circumvented censorship and they decide to go strong or start strong with Omegaverse. It's like, even if I was like in the CCP, if I was like on a censorship board, I'd be like, these people do not have like a sense of like decorum or like a pause button, because how do you go from just like they could have started with something like cute and like lovely. They went right in the deep end with Omegaverse. Even like Thailand was like, okay, Pete babe, we're gonna do this kind of like Uncharted, but like we're not gonna go far. There's no MPreg and anything. China is like, nah, I'm gonna go to the end. I am going to go to the extreme, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. And honestly, I love it. Like, I love it. The fact that ABO Desire is airing right now, right? Like what can you even say to that? Right? Like the fact that there's a full ass Omegaverse drama. Guys, who would have expected this? Like let's be honest. Like, who expected this? I did not expect this. Even when I saw like the poster for it, I was like, there's no way that this is real. Like, this is gonna be some like censored, like, you know, they're gonna cut this down somehow, and they still might. We're only like 3 episodes in, although I would say that it seems they're following it pretty closely. But honestly, I won't be surprised if they cut it down, right? I am just so shocked that they are doing this. Like, I am here to experience this, in fact. Like, who would have thought, you know? And you know how, like, on TikTok, they're like, you know, I am the first in my generation to see this. I am definitely the first in my generation to see this. And honestly, I have no complaints. This is what I live for, guys. This is it. But yeah, let's talk about the Omegaverse for a little bit. For those who don't know anything about it, this concept, right, has been around for a long time. As long as, you know, BL has maybe existed. Well, maybe not as long as that, because I mean, people have been writing male on male erotic, you know, fiction for a very long time, probably since the beginning of time, you know. But it's been around for a really long time, right? Just in the rise of fan fiction. And I think, like, according to Wikipedia, I started with Supernatural, right? And Supernatural, like, that's a show that went on for, like, I think 15 or so plus seasons. Like, it's a really popular show about these two brothers that just fight supernatural things, right? And because fujoshis have no, like, chill, they have no sense of decorum. They used to ship the two brothers in this series together, like, ship them. Yes, fan fiction ship, like, you know, that kind, right? And it's apparently from this that this whole thing started from, right? I got into the world of, like, just like the fantasy world, the supernatural world with Twilight. So that's actually my first introduction to this idea, when Jacob, you know, says Renesmee is his mate. That was like the first time I, like, had that moment, because, like, so that is one of the first books I read, not to, like, give away my age or anything, but, you know, that's kind of where I got the concept from. And then from that, for me, it was Wattpad. For those who don't know, because I've been around since, like, the inception of Wattpad. I remember when Wattpad still used to let you copy and paste. Like, I would copy all the novels I wanted to read when I got, like, some, like, internet, and I'll, like, go paste it somewhere so that, like, I could, like, read it on the off chance I no longer have internet. And so I remember those days, and so that's where I got that from. And I have to say, when I was a Wattpad girly, like, my favorite genre was werewolf. Like, that was my thing. Like, I did not read any other kind of books. I did not read the vampire ones. I did not read pure romance, like vanilla romance. No. It had to be fantasy, werewolf specific. And it was like, there was a point where, like, I remember when Wattpad put out a genre called werewolves because it was so popular. Like, they had, like, romance, they had drama, they had all these other genres, and they also had werewolf because it was so popular, right? And a lot of that is because of this idea of mates. So I was there when this speculative fiction became a thing, right? Like, I used to, you know, read all of the alpha's rejected mate. Like, that was me at the time, right? That was my life, right? And even though I have long since stopped being, like, a Wattpad girly, I do know that, like, that genre, that, you know, idea continued, right? So suddenly we had this emergence of, you know, this world where, like, this world exists, everything is the same, but this just extra things exist. So there are alphas, omegas, and, you know, betas, right? And so that world just exists, right? You have the alphas that are at the top, right? Then you have the betas that are, like, average, right? They're not really special. They're, like, just you and me if we just existed, like, normally in this world, right? And then there are omegas, who are that new category of, like, people that can get pregnant. And what makes them special is that, like, guys can also be omegas, right? And so that's kind of the idea, right? Honestly, the fact that it came from Supernatural, I'm not surprised, because fans of that show were unhinged. Like, they were so unhinged. But yeah, just that ability to, like, get males pregnant, that was the concept here, and no one can tell me any differently, right? Because honestly, I don't think it was really about, like, the girls in that world. It was really about, like, because again, the Omegaverse like just fans, fujoshis. Like this is a female oriented audience. It's female gaze. It's females that are like, it's chicks that are watching this and like, yeah, this is kind of what they want, right? And honestly, I would say that this is, even as somebody that like, I now my primary source of watching like novels is like a lot of like translated East Asian novels, so from Korea, China, places like that. This is also just really popular over there as well. Like a lot of the Korean like novels I read and the Chinese ones, just the yaoi theme, like this is a big thing. This has a following. In fact, it's not even a following at this point. It's so mainstream that like like it was going to happen, in terms of that, like at some point we were going to get a live action. Like it was, I think it was going to happen. And so to see that China has managed to circumvent censorship to go full throttle into this, honestly amazing. It doesn't get better than this, I think. Like it just does not, right? So now I want to kind of talk a little bit about ABO Desire, because again, it uses the Omegaverse idea to its full extent, right? It uses it properly, right? Like every aspect is in this, right? In this world, right, there has been a virus that has affected the whole population. It's just like a wave and everybody's infected, right? And because of that, AB, the people that are AB just died out. I have to say, when I heard that part, when they were like, okay, so there's only A, B, and O left, there's no A, B, I was like, damn, like a lot of my family members are just gone like that. Like they just like wiped out immediately, right? So what is left is now people in these three different categories, right? A, B, and O. A being the alphas, B being the betas, and O being the omegas, right? It's funny because I also think it's interesting. There must be a parallel between this idea and also how East Asians are very like into blood types. You know, like I watch a lot of like Korean variety shows or just Korean dramas, and they always mention things like, what blood type are you? And that like apparently dictates some things, right? Like it's the way like a lot of Western people like, you know, star signs. Are you an Aquarius? Are you a Sagittarius? Things like that, right? I think there's some parallel. I don't know what it is, but there must be, because that's where I feel like a lot of this comes from and why it might have gained popularity in East Asia. But yeah, anyways, that is the world they live in. In this new age world, omegas make up about like 10% of the population. Betas make up the highest, like 70-80%, and then alphas the rest. And it is in this category that like you have interesting dynamics and power dynamics, right? Because, you know, omegas physically have to go through like heat, they have to go through a lot of things, right? And their body is just predisposed to a lot of things that, you know, they need protection from. And I would say that one thing that makes this world interesting is because it mirrors a lot of real life, right? It mirrors a lot of the things that would happen in real life. So the discrimination for people that are omegas, they don't want to hire them because they are, you know, seen as weaker, or a lot of people think that they can just like get with an omega because of course they must want it, right? So just those ideas, it lives on in this, right? And it's interesting to see people like write about a war like this and actually like put in real life issues that could exist in real life, and some that does exist in real life. A lot that, you know, women struggle with is, you know, then applied to these omegas in this world, right? And, you know, I just find it so fascinating, right? And again, speculative fiction is beautiful. Like this is what we live for, right? But yeah, now in the categories of alphas, there are different kind of alphas, right? There are S tier alpha, which are like the alpha of the alphas. And then, you know, they're just regular alphas, right? So S tier alphas are those ones that like, you know, they are actually, in terms of the hierarchy, in terms of like who has the most social capital in that world, they are it, right? And things just happen for them, because in this world I would say that they're the ones that I would say resemble what would be like the perfect male, and, you know, that's just their own designation, right? One thing that's interesting about this is that the Omegaverse has been around for so long that they've even created a new categorization of people that can impregnate alphas called enigmas. Because if there's one thing fans will do, is find a way to impregnate another man. Like, they will always find a way. And so they created another category of people that can impregnate just alphas, right? And so they're called enigmas, right? And that's what they do, right? And they're supposed to be like actually the end all in terms of like classification. They are really the top of the top. They are at the top of the food chain. Although I'm sure if you give it time enough, they'll find a way to impregnate those ones as well. Like, I just know, like, they have no off button. Like, these people just keep going, right? So, anyways, that's how it is though currently, right? That like enigmas are really the top, but they are considered kind of almost like fiction, right? They are considered like wives' tale. No one really believes they exist, right? But they do. And so that's another thing, right? And they make mention of it in ABO Desire, like episode 1, right? But yeah, that's basically the plot of this, right? And like I said, it's just interesting to see like things that have only existed in my head be a live action, right? And it's just interesting to me to watch how like the producers of this has created the different like concept, right? So the idea of inhibitors, the idea of like pheromones, how they've decided to adapt things like that, right? And it's just interesting, right? So there's a scene, right, where one of the characters, Gao 2, who is an Omega, right, goes into like this heat, right? He goes into heat and he has this like spray inhibitor, right? He also has the pills one and everything, right? And just to see that be a thing, like genuinely be a thing, because there's a moment where like he is trying to reach for it, right? Because it's in heat and he can't like get himself to one. I was just like, this is it. This is really all I live for. Like, this is everything, right? So again, that's just like I'm having so much fun with these guys. Like, and again, I don't know what you're doing if you're not watching this, but anyways, yeah. So basically, our story is following 4 different characters, right? Hua Young, who is this Omega, that is trying to seduce an ST alpha called Xiao Yu, and I'll say they're like our main character, but we also have Gao 2, who is this Omega for this other alpha that is called Shen Wenlang, and they are the ones I'll say that I am interested in because I love an Omega with low self-esteem. That is just my bread and butter. Like, that is what I live for. Like, I've read so many novels about like the Omega that will run away with, like, run away pregnant, right? So that's like my thing, right? So in this story, we see that like Gao 2 is hiding the fact that he's an Omega. Again, textbook, but like he's hiding the fact that he's an Omega, and the dynamic there is very interesting because Shen Lang does not know he's an Omega. He thinks that his assistant, his secretary Gao 2 is a beta, right? And general misunderstanding is that Shen Lang does not like Omegas. So I think that's part of why Gao 2 keeps it a secret, other than also his mom told him to. He keeps it a secret because I think that he's interested in his boss, like he's in love with his boss, right? And he does not want him to hate him and to tell him to leave or something like that, right? And so he keeps it a secret. And so there's this scene where Gao 2 has to go pass on something to Hua Young, right? Who is also the secretary of Shen Wenlang in this. That's his thing, right? And Shen Wenlang is there and he smells Gao 2, because again, I also think that Shen Wenlang likes Gao 2, right? But I think that because again, they all think that Gao 2 has an Omega that is in heat, like is in a relationship. So Shen Wenlang, is a little mean to him. So when he comes and gives Hua Young the item, Shen Lang smells him and he's like, you reek, and which is very mean because that's Gao 2's, like, that's his pheromones, right? That's how he smells, right? And I think Gao 2 took that personally, but I think he actually, like, Shen Lang likes how he smells, but he doesn't know it's him. He thinks it's the Omega that is with Gao 2. So it's just, guys, this is everything. But anyways, they are like what I'm watching for. But I know they're not like the main leads. They're kind of a secondary couple, and I hope they get a lot of screen time. I'm begging, guys. Please give me a lot of screen time for them. But anyways, yeah. So Xiao Yu is the ST Alpha, right? He's the one that Hua Young is kind of seducing, because I think at the beginning we see. And this is a spoiler. I think that Hwa-young is actually an enigma. He's like seducing Xiao Yu, but like I don't think Xiao Yu is aware. Like Xiao Yu is like unassuming. He has no idea, right? That like he's purposely seducing him. And I'm praying for him. I am praying for him. But yeah, like everything is going so well. Like they are using all the themes. They are using everything. Like nothing is left. The only thing that I want to see they will actually do is show us the Emperor. I don't think they will. I think the child will just pop up because let's be honest, the Omegaverse actually is speculative fiction, and honestly just jump through hoops for some ideas, right? So like for example, no one ever talks about how a female alpha and a male omega would be together, right? Because that's considered like an heterosexual relationship as opposed to an homosexual relationship that would be between, you know, two alphas or two betas or two, you know, omegas. Although I think beta to beta is allowed. Like that's considered normal, but like alpha to alpha is considered gay. And so with like omega and omega is also considered gay, but I don't think beta beta is considered gay. So it's very interesting, this world, right? But yeah, they never tell you like how is the male omega gonna get pregnant, or like even just like a male omega, how is it gonna give birth, right? Like I was talking to my brother about this the other day, like just like explaining the omega verse to him, and like just I was just having fun and talking about how it's so interesting and everything, and he was like, wait. Because again, he's not like, he's a muggle, so he doesn't understand, right? But he's like, wait, how is he gonna like give birth, like actually give birth? And I was like, shush, you are thinking about this too hard. Trying to find logic in the Omegaverse is like pointless, right? But yeah, that is kind of what is happening here. And honestly, guys, the excitement I have, you don't understand. I've not been this excited for a really, really long time, guys. Like so long. And it's all because of this drama. And I hope to God it ends. Like they actually finish the whole run. Like the whole 16 episode airs. Because currently Revenge Love is on a hiatus. They say it's not because of censorship, that they just want to like make some changes. But I don't know. So I hope to God that this one makes it. Right. And I hope like I don't know why when this like production companies do this, they don't just give the whole like catalog to like Vicky or Gaga. Like give them the whole thing and let them like trust them to like time it for every week and to release it on schedule, right? But I think they keep the catalog, and so when the Chinese censorship catches them, it's all gone. That's what happened to Addicted, and you know, but anyways, I hope to God that we make it through this, because I will actually cry. Like I'll start shedding tears if I don't see this to the end. Like genuinely. But yeah, that's all I have, guys. Like I could keep going on and on about this, but honestly, I should stop here. I should stop here. Oh gosh. This is really the height of it for me, I think. Like I'm going to the end of the road in terms of like just this fujoshi world. This is really the end of it, right? Okay, I'm gonna stop here now, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you're not watching ABO Desire, like get on it, and let's talk about it. You guys, leave me comments. I want to know what you guys think, because this is like everything to me right now. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week. Bye.